Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Esteem a New Woman. The devilish diva starts on the road to becoming a new creature in Christ in this all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem a New Woman at Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, because we're having us a barbecue. In a previous video, I talked about the so-called DC Blackout from Black nerds and Black comic fans. And according to reports, many of these Black nerds and Black comic fans are looking to organize a boycott against DC Comics for not going out here and producing an ongoing series featuring one of DC's Black characters for the last 1,200 days. And on the 1,200th day of this lack of a series featuring one of DC's Black characters in their mainline continuity, what these organizers are looking to do is organize a complete boycott of DC Comics since the owners have not paid their demands any sort of attention. Now, when I look at this whole situation, I am shaking my head as I'm laughing about it because we've got a group of Black nerds and Black comic fans thinking that they're flexing on $1 billion corporation, not seeing how pathetic they actually look. Because it really looks pathetic that you're going to try to go out here and make a demand of a corporation, give you an ongoing comic series featuring one of DC's own Black characters that were mostly created by white people, and demand that you go out here and get this series that you don't even buy. And if you don't get that series, you're going to boycott this company. I gotta keep from laughing because you're gonna tell a company that you're not gonna buy their products if they don't produce a product that you don't buy. And that's just so mind-bogglingly stupid that it just makes no logical sense to anyone in this world. But it does make sense to me because it shows me how these Black nerds and these so-called Black comic fans basically have no self-esteem and no understanding about the intangibles of manhood or womanhood, because any self-respecting person would basically look at a company like DC Comics and basically keep it pushing. And the reason why they would keep it pushing is because they understand their value as a person. And as they understand their value as a person, they would understand that having dignity is more important than getting one of these companies to pay you any sort of attention. Now, anybody with any semblance of dignity would understand, okay, this company basically ain't making the product that I want, and they haven't showed any interest in making a product that I want. So what I'm gonna do is basically just leave that company alone. That's basically what I used to do back in the day when I turned about 18, 19 years old. I remember I would be in a place like Fordham Road looking to go out here and get my sneakers, but eventually I got tired of these stores basically treating me like I was some sort of criminal, holding my bags, telling me that I only had a limited time for refunds, and eventually I realized I didn't need to put up with this stuff. No, I didn't need to put up with this stuff with almost 40 years since the days of the civil rights movement, and I could go out here and shop someplace else where I could get better customer service and get the respect that I deserve. That's what I basically started to understand around 1995 or so, and basically started to say, hey, I don't need to shop at no Dr. J's on Fordham Road. if they're not going to, again, treat me like a human being and give me my respect, I'm going to take my respect by going to shop someplace else. But sadly, no, when it comes down to these black nerds and these so-called black comic fans, they don't understand the concept of dignity. They don't understand the concept of, again, understanding your value as a person. No, what they think is the thing to do is, oh, I made a hashtag DC so white as related to some sort of covert contract, hoping the corporate bosses at Warner Brothers would see your hashtag on social media the same way they saw the hashtag Oscars so white, and think that the company is DC Comics has an obligation to give you a series featuring one of its own black characters in an ongoing series that was basically, again, I'll repeat it once more, these characters who are black were created by white people, and you're sitting there asking a company to go out here and give you a series that features a black character created by a white person so that you can say, oh, there's a series that represents black people. Again, mind-bogglingly stupid mindset as related to things, and it just shows how pathetic these black nerds and black comic fans are, and how they don't understand what the concept of dignity is as related to their own humanity. No, they don't understand what the concept of dignity is as related to their own humanity, because you're sitting here again, and I'll repeat it for a third time, for the dense people in the back, you're sitting there asking a corporation that is owned by a pair of racists, Larry and David Ellison, to give you an ongoing series featuring one of DC's black characters in its mainline continuity, because you haven't done it for 1,200 days, and you want them to give you this ongoing series, or you're going to boycott them for not paying you any attention. You're going to say you're going to withhold your dollars if this company owned by racists don't give you this series. And again, this is basically working completely backwards from the point of the Montgomery bus boycott, completely working backwards as related to showing the power of the black dollar, and working completely backwards because we got folks sitting up here saying, oh, I don't feel good unless a white person validates me by giving me a character that they basically created, and give me that character in a series. Give me that character in a series. I don't feel good unless that character is one that's out here, and I don't feel valuable unless this white person, again, it goes out here and makes this series. So I need to go to the white person and see their version of a black person to get to spend my black dollars. And if that ain't spellbound thinking, I don't know what is, because what I hear as related to that statement, again, is just so pathetic when you start applying logic to this whole plan, again, of the DC Blackout, which shows how little self-awareness these black nerds and black comic fans have for themselves. You're gonna sit there and say, oh, DC Comics hasn't given us a series in 1,200 days. Well, fuck it. If they ain't made it in 1,200 days, again, my money stays in my pocket, because if you don't want to give me what I want, basically, I'm just gonna keep it pushing. And what really compounds the patheticness is that you got a lot of independent black creators out here. Like recently, I just picked up this book, The Monster of Blackenstein, from a black creator. And you got black creators out here spending their own money to go out here and make books like this. I mean, this brother right here basically went out here and recruited Joe Jusko, a legendary comic painter, to go out here and make this cover for his comic. And he spent possibly a good $3-4 grand on this cover alone. But you got these folks sitting up here, oh, I don't feel good because DC Comics ain't made a book in 1,200 days. Man, you don't know how pathetic you looking. Again, brother, go out here spending at least $3-4 grand just on the cover. And if we start to compound that with what's spent on the interiors, again, this brother spent a whole bunch of money, but the black nerd and the black comic fan don't consider that to be a comic. No, they don't consider that to be a comic. No, for them, a comic book is one made by either Marvel or DC Comics, one that's made by either one of the big two, because according to some of these black nerds, like your Blurred Rot Without Fear, your Captain Diesel's dojo, it's Marvel and DC are the only ones that have reach, even though manga is stomping the shit out of both of Marvel and DC. As related to sales, you're still sitting up here looking to beg Marvel and DC, which are basically owned by two struggling corporations, Disney and Warner Brothers, which would rather go out of business than look to appreciate your black dollars, would rather go out of business and basically watch their entire empire burn than look to see you in an image of yourself, again, looking strong, and even worse, again, will not even consider a black creator like myself. Again, I myself have gone out here and spent the money on comics like this John Haynes at Death's Door comic, and I spend money on artists to do covers like many of those on my SJS Direct imprint, and I'm not going out here doing this because I want to create some sort of covert contract where I want to go out here and show how my work is good to get a job at Marvel and DC. No, that ain't my game at all. No, I came out here because I wanted to go out here and create positive stories about black people, create stories that you wouldn't get from Marvel and DC, because Marvel and DC basically don't care about black creators or black characters at all. No, black characters are basically window dressing at DC, and the way we take our respect is not to go out here and beg a company like DC Comics to go out here and give us an ongoing series. No, we're supposed to do is in that 1200 days, go out here and support a creator like myself, creating a comic like John Haynes at Death's Door, or one of these other creators out here, like this brother who did the Monster of Blackenstein. Again, our job is to take our money in those 1200 days that DC don't want to give us a series, go out here, support our own content. That's what we're supposed to do, as if we had any sort of self-esteem or self-worth. But these guys are sitting up here looking real pathetic, looking to beg these white people to give them their characters that they own and in an ongoing series, and then want to put a whole lot of cockamamie stipulations on this whole situation. So in addition to looking to go out here and boycott this company to get this ongoing series featuring one of these black characters created by a white person, they also want you to go out here and basically participate in a cockamamie plan to show how these books are selling. No, you just can't go to a Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com to pick up one of those books. No, you can't do that at all. No, in order to show how there are black books being sold, what you gotta do is go to a comic shop and basically go to that comic shop and ask to have this black book not only pre-ordered, but create a pull list. And ain't nobody doing that shit in any way, shape, or form. No, the average everyday brother and sister, they may like comic books and they may like comic book characters, but they ain't going to that type of length. I mean, even when I was a comic book, reading comic books and buying comic books on the newsstand, I was going to the newsstand and occasionally going to Forbidden Planet to, pick up some books. That was about it for me. But I'm not sitting there and talking, I want to do a pre-order. No, I'm going, if it's not on the shelf, I don't really care that much. If it's not available on the shelf, the average everyday person don't care. And you want people to go out here and put in the footwork as related to this book that you don't want to put in yourself. I mean, I'm sitting there, and in addition to that, hearing them talk about, they need to do more marketing. Well, there's only so much marketing a publisher can do, and I know this from personal experience as a publisher myself. Again, I only have a limited budget And even most publishers have a limited budget. And when it comes down to publishing, only the A books are going to get the advertising. Only the A books are going to get the promotion. And they're going to get the promotion because they know that they can get a better return on the investment. They know they can get a better return on that investment. So an A book like a Batman Elseworlds or a Superman Elseworlds or a Superman story, again, they're going to get most of the ad dollars because they know they can get the better return on the investment. Meanwhile, your books like your Mr. Terrifics, meanwhile, your books like your Cyborgs, and even your Milestone 2.0 ain't going to get that push. And that's always been the way it has been in publishing all around, because even in trade publishing, first-time authors have to deal with this. When they go to a publishing house, your book not going to get pushed. No, what's going to happen is yeah, they'll publish the book, they'll put it on the shelf and see where things go. And after they see where things go, they may give you another book if yours pretty much earns out its advance. But most of the legwork for the promotion is going to be on you. Even if you do get published with a publishing house, you still going to have to do all the promotion work. You still going to have to go out here and arrange the book signings yourself. You're going to have to go out here and get the tables at the cons. And for many people out here, they don't understand how much this stuff costs. And when it comes down to these black nerds and these black comic fans, they don't understand how much things cost as related to the business of publishing. Again, a book like this basically cost me, again, about $6,000 after going out here and negotiating a deal with the artist. I got a lucky with this one because the dude only wanted me to pay him $80 a page, but that price has gone up in the last couple of years. The average artist is asking for $200 a page these days because they got bills, they got to eat, and again, it's $200 a page, $300 for the cover minimum, and then on top of that, like I said before, you got to pay for the colors, which is $120 to $180 because the colorist got to get paid too. And then the letterer has to get paid $20 to $50 a page, depending on who it is. Sometimes even $100 a page, depending on who it is. People got to get paid for their time. And that as they get paid for their time, that's money coming out of the publisher's pocket. And as that money's coming out of the publisher's pocket, they got to sit there and spend this money like I did with this John Haynes at Death Store. You got to spend your money and basically hope you can recoup your costs. And that's just even before you even do something like put the book on the shelf, because you still got to pay your printing costs. And after you pay your printing costs, you basically, after that, you're just sitting there hoping that you'll get your money back. And eventually, again, as related to DC Comics, yeah, they may be run by a corporation, but they got bills as related to their budget. You get a budget for your whole overall year when you, as related to a corporation. And if the book, and the whole thing is with the publishing, again, 90% of the books fail. So the 10% of these have to go out here and make that money. But these guys want to sit there and say, oh, DC Comics got it like that, and they need to give us this series that they haven't given us in 1,200 days, even though over the last, I would say, 10 to 15 years, they have gone out here and given you books that feature black characters in their mainline universe. I mean, before they even had this Boycott, you had the I Am Batman book featuring your knockoff hand-me-down black Batman, Jace Fox. You had your Milestone 2.0, which basically every book bombed to the point where the publishing got erratic, run by incompetent Reginald Hudlin. Then before that, you had the Cyborg ongoing. Let me get that out of here. And you had other books like a Black Lightning book, Mr. Terrific book. And again, you're sitting there after this company has basically gone out here and put out multiple series and want to tell the company that basically is the one fronting the money, oh, it's wrong for you to have no black books after 1,200 days. And they basically see in themselves not generating any sort of sales that show them they can't recoup the cost. And they're just supposed to keep spending money on books that were featuring black characters that were created by white people so that these black nerds and black comic fans can have some sort of representation as related to a book they don't buy. Again, the only place where this logic makes sense is Arkham Asylum, and even the Joker would look at this and say, what the fuck is this? Because he's gonna look at this and go, how completely insane it is to sit there and ask someone for something like this. But with the spellbound black person, again, they don't know what logic is, because they basically are deifying and worshiping these white people. They're deifying and worshiping these white people, and they basically are looking to try to get this series, because what they want isn't the series. No, what they want is white validation. What they want is white approval. What they want is attention from a white person, no different than the slave on the plantation looking for the approval of massa. That's what this series basically represents to them, and they'll go to all sorts of inordinate lengths as related to, again, the cockamamie scheme that they've come up with as related to getting those sales. Like saying, oh, you need to go to a comic book store in order to show how there's people who want to buy black comics created by white people that feature a black character created by a white person. I mean, when you really sit down and think about it, it just is so pathetic. I mean, it's pathetic to me because I never thought anybody would have self-esteem this low. And again, I'm just a shy guy who basically likes to write stories, and I'm considered the weirdo by these nerds, and I would rather be the guy on the outside than be in a group this sad. I would rather be on the outside rather than be in a group this sad, because I understand, again, my value as a person. I understand my value as a person to God who created me. I also understand my value as a black man, and as someone who understands his value as a black man, I understand that there's a line that comes as related to when people disrespect you. I learned this way back when I was 13 years old, and I would rather go it alone rather than be with people who do not respect me, because if I sit there and let people disrespect me, I'm going to be the one who is the one who's pathetic. But as a man, I understand, again, if you don't want me around, guess what? You don't get my money. No, I'll take my money and spend it with people out here like these black creators, like the creator of The Monster of Blackenstein and many other black creators. I'll spend my money with those people, or I'll just go out here and try to do things like my John Haynes at Death Store comic. I'll try to go out here and do that overall, because I understand the value of dignity, and that's the sad thing about this whole situation. These dudes don't understand the value of dignity. They don't understand the value of self-respect. Oh, I'm going to try to beg someone who basically does not respect me to give them my money. I mean, you have Larry and David Ellison, the new owners of Warner Brothers, a pair of white supremacists, a pair of racists, and you're sitting there begging a white man who's a racist and a white supremacist to give you a black series that features one of these black characters created by a white person. And when you really sit down and think about that, when you really just sit there and think about that, that's a special brand of pathetic, a special brand of dysfunction. I mean, people used to mock me and call me retarded. They used to, and even some of these assholes out here call me autistic when I'm making videos, but I have at least enough understanding that I'm not going to sit there and bring myself down to the level of those who are the oppressor. I'm not going to bring myself down to that level to beg them for something that's created by them, that looks like me but doesn't represent me in any way, shape, or form. No, I at least have that much dignity. And again, I don't know if that makes sense to these folks. Again, they want to call me, again, autistic and retarded, but what really to me seems backwards is, again, you going out here and again begging a white corporation run by racists who support the Orange Man to give you a series featuring a black character that's created by a white person, and then again further go on with the cockamamie scheme, and then further demand that said corporation give you a book you don't buy and have that book run for 18 months to say it's gonna get an audience. Again, this is all Arkham certified logic. Arkham certified logic all around. Arkham certified because only a person who again comes from an insane asylum would believe this type of boycott is going to have some sort of impact. Again, a racist don't care about the black audience in the comic world when it's considered to be 0.5% of their readership overall. They don't care about the black dollar as related to black comic fans, because black comic fans in themselves don't show their value by saying, hey, you know what? These companies don't care about us. It could be 1,200 days. It could be 2,000 days. It could be 10,000 days. I don't care. If they're not making nothing for me, then I can go take my money elsewhere, especially now in an era where we have options. In an era where we have options, I can take my money someplace else. And that's what every other person as related to comics did back in the 1990s when the speculator market crashed. Most of these folks basically have moved on. Their kids have basically moved on. Their kids moved on to Monster High. Their kids moved on to WWE. Their kids basically moved on to Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. I mean, you got 2-3 generations of folks moving on, but your black nerds and your black comic fans basically still sitting here begging for a white man to give them something. Again, if that ain't pathetic, I don't know what is. I don't know what is. Meanwhile, a guy like me tried to go out here and again give you your own characters in your image created by a original black creator. And basically, these same folks, because they got that spellbound mindset, ain't gonna pay these type of books no attention. No, they'll come at you with all sorts of excuses. Oh, this character is too light-skinned. This character is not black enough. And whatever the fuck that means. I mean, you sitting up there, oh, the character not black enough, made by a black creator. Again, completely Arkham certified thinking. And it's made by a black person, but it's not black enough. But the black character created by the white person is black enough. I mean, make that make sense to anyone. Make it make sense. But this is the way these black nerds and black comic fans think. And I had to go back to the barbecue and fire that grill up one more time and put them applewood chips on it, because this type of thinking is just so fucked up. I mean, when you really sit there and think about it, and basically I look at this, again, I'll repeat it for a fourth time. Again, you gon' go out here, make a hashtag to shame a white corporation with DC so white, when the white corporation run by the racists pay you no attention. You want to escalate this into a boycott on the 1200th day that there hasn't been a black series featuring a black character in DC's mainline continuity. You want to escalate that into a boycott of a DC Blackout for a book you have not bought. I mean, come on here. I mean, this is completely insane. Meanwhile, you sit there and ignore an independent black creator like myself. Again, book available on Lulu for you to buy for $15 with shipping. Book available on Amazon.com right now in $3.99. Again, this book even, again, on Amazon, lower than the price of what you would pay in a comic shop and in a venue where there are more comics. But in these guys' backwards logic, they're sitting there saying, oh, this comic, again, an Amazon sale is not a sale, even though 90% of people buy their books from Amazon. And you're sitting up there, oh, that's not a sale. That doesn't show the comic shops that's selling. No, what a creator like myself want to do is, again, we want to get to the casual buyer on Amazon, because that's where all the money really is. That's why I, again, have this book on Kindle right now. And if I could get the PDF, right, it would be there in paperback, but it's on Lulu in paperback. Again, you want to be where the customers are. But these guys, again, it's not about, again, selling the books. It's about white validation. It's about white approval. And since it's about white approval, that's why they're going to these insane lengths with this insane scheme. And when I look at this whole situation once again, it's the most pathetic thing that I've seen in my 52 years of living. In my 52 years of living, this is one of the most pathetic things that makes me, again, just ashamed to be black. And if this is what is what's supposed to be the image of what black is supposed to be as related to nerd circles, then I'm glad they basically kicked me out of those circles when I was 13 years old, because I understand the importance of my respect. I understand the importance of my respect, and that got reinforced to me when I was 16 years old, and I would rather go it alone and have my intangibles of character than sit here and go and basically be a part of a group that doesn't respect itself. I mean, these guys, again, and I'm looking at the entire black race in and of itself, a lot of folks don't respect themselves to say, you know, I can go out here and walk away, and the solution is I go support my own people. The late David Carroll tried to tell you that, okay, these people, again, don't respect you. Take your money and go to your own people, but these people would rather light their money on fire. I would say they would dare to say throw it in a fire and before they give it to another black person, and they'll sit there and get in their feelings when I push back on them. But then when they come down to them white people, their lips are firmly planted on their ass because they value, again, white validation more than their dignity, and that's the sad state of affairs as related to this escalation of the DC so white turning into the DC blackout that the white racist isn't paying any attention to. Now, if you want to pick up my first full comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, it's available on Lulu.com in paperback, and it's also available on Kindle for just $3.99, and it's also available on Google Play. And you can also pick up many of my books on the SJS Direct imprint that feature positive stories about black people that DC Comics ain't gonna produce. They ain't gonna produce no stories about black businesses. They ain't gonna produce no stories about black sororities. They're not gonna produce supernatural and fantasy stories featuring black characters or as the lead, like I do with the Isis, Esteem, and John Haynes series. And they definitely ain't gonna make no stories about no black goths, like I did with the Spinsterella series. And they ain't gonna make no stories like No Eternal Night that feature black vampires, like I did, just like the movie Sinners. But you can get them books on the SJS Direct imprint on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also get them at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to see me go out here and continue to produce books on the SJS Direct imprint, or you want to help me stay on the air so I can barbecue these black nerds and these black comic fans to a tender crisp, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, an offer he can't refuse. The man who rules the world gets a job offer he can't refuse in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, an offer he can't refuse at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Runway of Doom. The goddess next door struts her stuff on the catwalk to take on a runway of rogues in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Runway of Doom at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.